Most people think the golden age of boat building is happening right now. With all these modern designs, advanced materials, and luxury interiors, it feels like boats have never been better. But the truth is, they haven't. Modern boats are getting wider, lighter, and more comfortable, but they're also getting weaker where it actually matters. They're built to look good in a marina, not to survive in the middle of the ocean. And that becomes very real the moment you leave the coastline behind. When the waves get bigger, the wind picks up, and the hull starts taking real pressure, that's when you find out what your boat is actually made of. Because decades ago, builders had a completely different mindset. They didn't try to save weight, they didn't try to cut costs, they overbuilt everything. We're talking about hulls so thick they could take serious impact, structures designed for real ocean conditions, and boats that were made to cross oceans, not just sit at the dock. And here's the crazy part. Today, you can buy these boats for the price of a used car, boats that were built so strong they can literally outlive you. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 blue water boats that are not only still capable in 2026, but in many ways are actually better than what's being built today. These are boats designed to survive real conditions, not just look good on Instagram. The biggest problem with modern boats isn't how they look, it's how they're built. Today, most manufacturers are focused on making boats lighter, wider, and cheaper to produce. A wider hull means more interior space. A lighter structure means better speed and lower costs. And on paper, that sounds great. But in the real world, it creates a serious problem. Because the ocean doesn't care about comfort. When waves start hitting from different directions and the hull begins to twist under pressure, that's when lightweight construction becomes a liability. Many modern boats rely on thinner fiberglass, internal liners, and cost-saving designs that simply weren't meant for extreme conditions. They're built to impress at the dock, not to take a beating in open water. And that's exactly why these older boats are so interesting right now, because they were built in a time when strength came first and everything else came second. And the first boat on this list might be the best example of that philosophy. The first boat on this list is the Westsail 32. And if there's one boat that perfectly represents the idea of overbuilt, it's this one. The Westsail 32 is often described as a floating tank, not because it's fast, but because it's almost impossible to destroy. It was designed in the 1970s at a time when boat builders didn't fully trust fiberglass yet, so instead of optimizing for weight, they overbuilt everything. We're talking about a hull that can be nearly an inch thick in some areas. That's significantly more than what you'll find on most modern production boats today, because now manufacturers are constantly trying to reduce weight and material costs. But out in the ocean, that extra thickness makes a huge difference. Imagine being in the middle of the Atlantic, with waves hitting the hull non-stop and everything around you moving under pressure. On a lighter, modern boat, you might start hearing creaks, feeling the structure flex, and wondering how much it can actually take. On a Westsail 32, you don't get that feeling. It feels solid, predictable, like it was built for exactly that situation. Now, there's a reason some people jokingly call these boats West snails. They're not fast, but speed isn't the priority here. This boat has a displacement of around 20,000 pounds, which means you can load it with supplies, gear, fuel, and it barely changes how it behaves. Try that on a modern lightweight cruiser, and you'll feel the difference immediately. But here's where things get really interesting. In today's market, you can often find a Westsail 32 for somewhere between $25,000 and $45,000. That's less than many used cars. And what you're getting is a boat that was designed to cross oceans, not just sit at the dock. It's not about speed, it's not about luxury, it's about getting you there safely. The second boat on this list is the Pacific Seacraft 37. And if the Westsail feels like a tank, this one feels like a precision tool. It was designed by the same legendary naval architect Bill Krelock, but with a completely different goal in mind. Instead of building the heaviest possible boat, he wanted something just as strong, but faster, more efficient, and more responsive. And that's exactly what makes this boat so interesting, because it gives you that same level of offshore confidence, without feeling slow and heavy all the time. One of the biggest differences comes down to how it's constructed. In many modern boats, the interior is built using a large molded liner, basically a plastic shell dropped into the hull to save time and money. The problem is, that liner often hides the actual structure of the boat, so if something starts going wrong, you might not even see it until it's too late. The Pacific Seacraft 37 takes a completely different approach. Instead of relying on hidden structures, Major components are directly bonded to the hull by hand. Bulkheads, furniture, structural elements, everything is tied together into one solid system, which means when the boat is under stress, it behaves like a single unified structure, not a collection of parts moving independently. And out in real ocean conditions, that makes a huge difference. Imagine sailing through a confused sea, waves hitting from multiple directions, constant pressure from every angle. On a lighter, more modular boat, you might hear things shifting, flexing, reacting. On a Pacific Seacraft 37, everything feels tight, solid, quiet, controlled. But what really sets this boat apart is that it actually performs. Unlike heavier designs, it can point higher into the wind, move more efficiently, and make better progress on long passages. So you're not just surviving the ocean, you're moving through it properly. And when you look at the price, it becomes even more interesting. Right now you can find well-maintained examples for somewhere between $65,000 and $85,000, which might sound like a lot until you compare it to what a new boat with similar capability would cost, and that's easily several times more. What you're getting here is a boat that combines strength, performance, and long-term reliability in a way that most modern boats simply don't. It's the perfect step up if you want something that feels just as safe as a tank, but actually sails like a real boat. The third boat on this list is the Hallberg-Rassy 352, and this is where things start to feel different, because this isn't just a strong boat, it's a premium one. The Hallberg-Rassy 352 was built in Sweden at a time when craftsmanship and long-term durability were more important than cutting costs. And you can feel that the moment you step on board. Everything about this boat feels solid, refined, built with intention. While many manufacturers were trying to make boats faster and cheaper, Hallberg-Rassy focused on making them safer and more comfortable for real long-distance sailing. One of the biggest advantages of this boat is its encapsulated keel design. On most modern boats, the keel is bolted onto the hull, which creates a potential weak point. If those bolts fail, the consequences can be catastrophic. But on the Hallberg-Rassy 352, the ballast is integrated directly into the hull itself. It's one solid structure, no bolts, no weak joint, which means if you hit something, the force is distributed across the entire boat, not concentrated in one vulnerable area, and that's exactly the kind of engineering that matters offshore. Inside, the story continues. Instead of thin veneers and lightweight materials, you get real wood, properly finished, built to last decades. It feels less like a production boat and more like a small floating home. But what makes this even more interesting is the price, because boats like this used to be completely out of reach for most people. And now, in today's market, you can find well-maintained examples for around $65,000 to $80,000, which is insane when you consider the level of build quality you're getting. This is the kind of boat that was designed to cross oceans comfortably, not just survive them. It's strong, it's safe, and it feels like something that was built to last a lifetime. The fourth boat on this list is the Hallberg 37, and this is where things get serious, because this boat wasn't designed to look good, it was designed to survive. At first glance, it might not seem that different, but the real advantage of this boat comes from its proportions. Unlike most modern designs, the Hallberg 37 is relatively narrow, and that's not a drawback, it's actually one of its biggest strengths, because modern boats are getting wider and wider to create more interior space. But that extra width creates a hidden problem. When a wide boat gets flipped by a wave, it can actually become more stable upside down, which is exactly what you don't want in the middle of the ocean. The Hallberg 37 takes a completely different approach. It has a narrower beam and carries its weight much lower in the hull, which means if it gets knocked down by a wave, it naturally wants to come back upright. Quickly, predictably, safely. And that's what offshore sailors care about, because in real ocean conditions, it's not about avoiding every wave, it's about how the boat reacts when things go wrong. Another thing you'll notice is how this boat moves through the water. Modern flat-bottom designs tend to slam into waves, creating a harsh, exhausting motion, but the Hallberg 37 slices through the ocean instead. It moves with the water, not against it, which makes a huge difference on long passages, because fatigue is real, and when the crew gets tired, mistakes start happening. This boat helps prevent that. It's steady, predictable, and easy to trust. And when you look at the price, it becomes one of the best values on this list. You can find solid examples for somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000, which is incredibly low for a boat with this level of offshore capability. You're not paying for space, you're not paying for luxury, you're paying for safety, and when you're hundreds of miles from land, that's the only thing that really matters. The final boat on this list is the Tartan 37, and this is where everything comes together, because if the other boats represent strength, safety, or craftsmanship, this one represents balance. The Tartan 37 was designed by the legendary firm Sparkman and Stevens, and it was built to do something most boats struggle with: combine real offshore capability with actual performance. Because here's the problem with many heavy blue water boats. They're incredibly strong, but they can feel slow, heavy, and unresponsive. And on long passages, that matters. The Tartan 37 solves that. It's still strong enough to handle serious conditions, but it's also fast enough to keep moving when the wind drops or conditions change. One of the key differences is how the hull is constructed. Instead of relying purely on thick solid fiberglass, it uses a carefully designed core structure to increase stiffness without adding unnecessary weight. And when it's done properly, like it is here, you get the best of both worlds. A hull that feels solid under pressure, but doesn't carry the massive weight penalty of older designs. Another advantage is its versatility. This boat can handle offshore passages, but it can also go places many deeper boats can't. Thanks to its design, it works well in shallower waters like coastal areas, islands, or places with limited depth. So you're not just getting a boat that can cross oceans, you're getting a boat that gives you more freedom overall. And that's what makes it so appealing, because in real life, most people don't sail in extreme conditions all the time. They want something that can handle the worst, but still be enjoyable the rest of the time. And this is exactly that kind of boat. In today's market, you can find a solid Tartan 37 for somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000, which makes it one of the most well-rounded options for the price. It's fast enough to enjoy, strong enough to trust, and versatile enough to take you almost anywhere. If you had to pick just one boat from this list, for most people, this would probably be it. The truth is, you don't need $1 million to own a boat that can cross an ocean. You just need to stop looking at what's new and start looking at what actually works. Because these boats were built in a different era, an era where strength mattered more than marketing, where durability came before comfort, and where the goal wasn't to impress people at the dock, but to survive the journey. And that's exactly why they're still relevant today. In fact, in many ways, they're better than what's being built right now. So if you had $50,000 today and had to pick one of these boats to take you across the ocean, which one would you trust? Would you go with something like the Westsail, built like a tank, or something more balanced, like the Tartan 37? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more videos about boats that are actually built to survive the ocean, make sure to subscribe, because most people are looking at the wrong boats, and once you see the difference, it's hard to unsee it.